Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you all for being here. When we said we were going to do this last week, some folks looked at me like we might be crazy. Most of the folks on our team, but the fact that we were able to put together something that I think you guys are going to be excited about. We're excited to show it off because we haven't really done that yet, and just introduce kind of where we're trying to go and hopefully get you guys along for the ride. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, but because we have a couple people still coming in. But what's neat is we have people from all over the world. We have folks from, I believe, 7 or 8 countries that are going to be here right now. So different time zones, growing totally different types of plants. Some old friends that we've known along the way. And some of our early Indiegogo customers. And so, as we look at where we've been over the last while, we're going to talk a little bit about our history. But it's really about you guys and the people that are here and have provided information and are excited to kind of help us guide the next iteration of the company. And so that's why we're here. And so thank you all for joining. I guess I'll get it started. We're recording this, so if anyone will want to see it or see a piece of it later, there's going to be some really hopefully good things that we're going to show off. Specifically, everyone is excited about the demo, because for years we've been talking about this thing that we're building and we don't really show it off that often. And so we're going to start to change that a little bit today. And so, there's 21 folks here. Thank you all for joining from various points in time. And we are Grow Computer, and we are doing kind of what we're going to call a beta kickoff. And the idea here is it's the second half of 2020 already, which is crazy. So how do we bring the next wave of people in and really create a new way of communicating with who we hope is going to be who has been along the ride and who's going to help us continue to shape the future of our company. And so today, as we're looking at what we're going to kind of talk about, I'm going to do a company reintroduction. A lot of folks have heard me talk all over the place, but we're just going to do a quick history. And then we've been working on our ethos internally for the last couple months, and we're going to be relaunching and reintroducing you to kind of why we're doing this and how we're expecting to get there. Next, we're going to talk about the beta program. So many of you filled out these amazing applications that we weren't sure, but it just shows that there's a lot of passion and energy around this space. And we have found a group of growers from around the world that are doing this, that are trying to solve these problems, that are working on this every day. And we're just happy to welcome you into the community and the company. Next, Monty is going to kick off a demo of everything that we've been working on. We've dropped bits and pieces, but I think this is probably going to be the most complete demo that we've given so far. And then afterwards, we're going to open it up. The fact that you guys are here, we want to hear from you. Ask us anything about the business, the product, the tech. Some things we might not want to answer. Other things we might take to another chat. But we're here to communicate, and you'll see kind of why that's important to us as we just talk about our reintroduction and our history. So to kick it off, this is the first slide in every presentation I've been giving recently, and it's just a kind of a big statement that fundamentally we believe that humanity's ability to grow food indoors is important for our future, right? And that's plants, food, medicine, protein, and anything else, because whether it's climate change or locusts, outdoor traditional farming is getting more expensive, and there's these opportunities to bring people into indoor farming. And so to do that, we are powering you as the growers to hopefully solve these problems with what we're calling an IoT operating system. We'll explain what that means in a minute, but basically this has been 4 years in the making. And so actually right now in July is a 4-year anniversary of the fundamental question that when I started this company, it's how do I keep my garden alive for 17 days? At the time I was living on my Park Avenue apartment, and really it was, where was the app for that, right? Where was how do we do this? And from that point, the ball started rolling. And so in 2016, just started asking the question. I met a lot of the folks that are here. And then in 2017, we started to jump into some of these projects. So in the beginning, it was the Open Ag food computer. I'm sure there's many veterans of people here that have tried to do that, that thought that those TED Talks were the coolest things ever. And we were one of them. I built the food computer. It never worked, but I was hooked. Afterwards, I got a chance to talk about hydroponic home appliances at AgTech Week. And then we met and started Grow Computer. And this was Grow Computer V1, where in October 2017, we started to create a hardware product that in 2018, we launched as the Grow Strip. I am honored to have a couple veterans of that campaign still with us and following along, and really valued sources of feedback. But really, the campaign failed. We tried to launch this in Indiegogo. We tried to have really big things. And then we realized that the best way to put it is how I put it when I teach my other class. And it's this image. And basically, as we looked at what happened in the end, we realized that we were focusing too much on this piece of hardware that really didn't need to be made by us, and not on you, and not on the people who are actually doing this. And how do we make their ability to grow more impressive? And so as we looked at our kind of debrief in 2018, we came into 2019, where we went around the world. We were in 3 or 4 countries. We were talking at 6 or 7 different conferences, participated in more, went to grows everywhere. And we started pivoting our company from that hardware platform to software. And we realized that the software was where the value is. And over the year, we got a chance to listen, but we also had a lot of work to do, and we had a lot of building to do. So in 2019, we were talking to everybody. We were going around the world, listening, talking, communicating, but we had a lot of work to do to build it. But by the end of the year, we had structured our team. And this is the team as it currently sits. So there's 5 of us on the squad. We have been working on this, some of us for 3.5+ years now. Andrew and David, and then Monty and Colleen joined. And we're putting in the work to try and build this for everybody. And so we are 100% founder owned and bootstrapped. We have never raised any capital, not for lack of trying, but it just never was right for us. It never really fit. And so we've just kept going, and we've kept on building because we hear from everybody and we say, this is awesome. And so as we look at 2020, what have we been doing? 2020 was, I don't know, this year is obviously crazy for everybody. No one could have ever predicted this. And so as we look at kind of where we've been the last 6 months, in January, we planted Admiral Kush V2, which you'll see in a second is a grow that was local, and it worked. The platform works great. We started conducting Indiegogo interviews with our original customers to learn about the things that we were doing and where we were at. And then COVID happened. And it blew up everybody's life. It's not just us. We're not looking for excuses, but it happened everywhere, and it happened simultaneously. And at the same time, our team, we were all here in NYC, and now I'm the only one left. And the reason why we're still here is because my wife and I had a baby a couple months ago. And so, the last couple months, March, April, May, were just rough. We didn't stop moving, but we started to, and we kept working. But some of the things that we thought we were going to be able to get to earlier on in the year just never happened. And then in May, we started to get an opportunity to put together this really exciting program called One Grow that I'll explain in a minute. And then in June and July, we started to say, all right, how do we re-engage and go to the next step of our company and look to the future? And so where we are now on July 8th is really exciting because it works. The platform works. I have a small grow. Granted, it's very, very tiny, but I've had 4 plants running. I've had the system going for about 6.5 months now. The uptime is, 98, 99% of the time. And as David has told me, we've captured 800,000 data points over this 3-month grow. There's so much information being collected that we were kind of blown away at what we were doing. And so as we look at this and we say, all right, we have this platform that works that Monty's going to show you in a couple minutes. We have this platform. And what we are trying to do is to go from this platform that we believe is unbelievably powerful and start to wrap it into a product, and start to figure out how we could take this really big idea that could do a lot of different things and make it something that is digestible for everybody else, for all the growers around we've been talking to. And so that's why you guys are here. You guys are the ones that are doing this, and we want to learn from you where that product is, and so we can deliver the best service. And so, it's kind of that old African proverb, we want to go far, right? We don't want to go, we haven't been going fast, so it's easy to say, but we do want to go far, and that's why we're still working on this. And so going forward, we've been working on these 3 ethos pillars for a couple months now, and this is the first time we're going to publicly launch them. And this is how we want to operate our company and what we are trying to provide for you. And then afterwards, we'll talk about what this beta opportunity is. And so the first pillar is this grower first ethos. And that's because that's who we are, and that's who you are too. The survey that we sent out, we got almost 24 great responses of about 200. So that's all about 10% responded, which shows the passion that's here. And you guys are really interesting folks that come from amazing backgrounds. A lot of people are just makers and they like building things, but we have farmers, we have entrepreneurs, programmers, scientists, educators, and so much more. And I think that uniqueness of your background is really inspiring. Also, as I mentioned, we have people from all over the world. In this initial cohort, we have people from, I think, 6 different countries. And our goal is to build this connection of everybody that's going in the same direction. And we think about, and then when we ask you why you're growing, we thought this was really interesting. There's so many answers, and everyone's got a different one. A lot of local food. Everyone wants to do a supply chefs and supply their community. People love growing weed. Can't blame them. We have one person that's doing this to fight cancer. We have other folks that are doing it for sustainability after natural disasters. And these are inspiring. And what we have to do is figure out how to provide you with the tools you need to build the systems that you're already growing. And so as we look at what you're building and the systems that you're building, there's so many different materials and visualizations of how this comes out. And I think everyone is unique, and that's kind of what's special, but that's also what's really challenging for us. And so as we look at these different types of farms that you're doing, how do we give you the tools that you need based on what you're doing? And looking at what you're growing too. And I think this is really exciting, is that there's a huge variety of how big and how much you're growing. Leafy greens and herbs and spices, number 1 and 2 on the platform. And that makes a lot of sense. They're fairly profitable. You don't need that much overhead to get going, and you can grow really great products. But it's exciting to see tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, cannabis, obviously, but also flowers and fish and mushrooms, because we love to see this, because fundamentally, me as an economist, I believe that anything could be grown indoors. And the fact that you're already doing that helps prove that. And what we're trying to do is say that all of these different crops are out there. You can grow anything. You can grow animals, plants, mushrooms, fish, whatever, because it's all the same controlled environment concept. But what we are hoping to do is to help you bring those costs down. So to bring the costs from where they are now to do anything outdoors to now make it affordable, accessible, and efficient to build these businesses and these grows wherever you are. And so that brings us to our next pillar. Our next pillar is this concept called roads and bridges. And the rationale here is that everything that you guys are doing is totally unique. Everyone's grow is unique, and you're doing different things, but you're really just doing the same things, but with different components. And there is a fundamental math challenge in this model where any one of these components to talk to any other component is like this many-to-many challenge. And that's why nothing works. There's multiple apps. Everyone has to roll their own thing because everyone's situation is unique and none of this stuff talks to each other. So at Grow Computer, we kind of believe, or we do believe, that if we can connect to anything, we can unlock everything. And so what that means to us is that we can now allow, we build these one-to-one connections for each of these individual hardware components such that you can build on top of that stack. It's very similar to what Android or Microsoft or iOS does, where you could talk to the hardware. And then we're hoping to allow these types of advanced functionality that are digital to be unlocked. And what's really cool about your responses to these surveys, and we looked at the features that you wanted. When we asked you what are the features, the top 5 features you wanted, almost everybody wanted real-time control, monitoring alerts, automation, and plant level data and tracking. Um, Additionally, there's that next level, and then after that, kind of the really nice to haves. And we're looking at what you're tracking, what types of information, water pH, air temperature, air humidity. What's amazing about these answers that you gave to us is that this is what we've built. Our platform is, this slide is not new. I've made this slide probably originally sometime in 2018. And the goals that we've been trying to deliver are still here, and it's still what you need. And so to see that type of response and say, well, your requests of these different items, right, from real-time control down through energy and AI and open source, really matches up amazingly with our development roadmap and what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. And so our value is in taking these systems and creating this back-end database and data model that allows all of that information to work well and ultimately to unleash you as the grower with your technology and software. And so the idea is, how do we take most of these systems that might be using analog outlets and manual outlets and on-the-wall ergometers and even notebooks and give you 21st century technology to unleash these systems? And I think that we've heard some amazing ideas. For example, this is one that we call the Grow Doctor, where one person, one agronomist, can set up multiple systems in the same city or around the world and be able to collect the data at one place and be able to monitor and manage these systems remotely. I know some folks here that live in New York that have managed multiple systems, even in Manhattan. Getting on the subway or getting in a car and going from place to place takes time and it costs money. If you can get those immediate insights right away, how much more of a profitable business could you build? And so we think that when grows can talk to each other, anything is possible. And that's what we're trying to get to. And we're trying to build that back end software that allows anybody to help us get there. And one big idea that we love talking about is around energy. We know that indoor farming is exceptionally energy consuming. And so if we could track all of the individual functions of your grow, if we could say, now you can network that with other systems, could you work with your energy utility or the grid to create a microgrid or even get cheaper energy? And so that's kind of where we're hoping to go with the roads and bridges. And then lastly, it's this accessibility idea. And what we want to do is make the technology easy and accessible for everybody, no matter the size of the system or where you are in the world. And so how we're doing that, the first thing that we're trying to do is this idea of memberships instead of subscriptions. We are a for-profit business, and we're figuring out ways to be able to engage with customers, but we think that we can create a unique opportunity of a membership where, while you'll get the software, there's a lot of other things that we think we could help provide that will add value to your platform, to your grow, and to your business. And so we're trying to work with you, and this is one of the things that we're going to be excited to engage this beta group about. Next is this idea of the bits to atoms. And this is kind of where our fundamental block is right now, is that how do we, because we're controlling the physical world, we need some sort of device in there that can turn things on and off. We thought it was the grow strip, but actually there's this opportunity for us to create a bundle using commoditized things. But this was blown up in 2020, at least the processes that we've been doing because of COVID, because we're no longer able to get really easy access to Chinese suppliers of electronic components. And we really didn't have access to the quantity and quality of these devices that we had wanted. And so figuring this out is another thing that we're going to be looking to kind of work with you guys on. And why we love this is because all this stuff you could buy already, right? So these things you could buy on Amazon. You could buy cameras, you could buy air sensors, you could buy water pumps. We want it to be primable. We don't want to have to necessarily sell you hardware, but we want you to say, all right, well, I need to add a new pH sensor into my grow. You can go buy one on Amazon, have it primed to your house, and snap that component directly into your grow computer system. And we think that's important because if we can get you from one, we can get you to anywhere. And so that's kind of that accessibility on the hardware. And then the last point about accessibility and what we're trying to build for everybody is this idea of one grow. We have worked really hard with some school partners, with nonprofit partners. We've had an amazing intern team that's been helping us put this together. But we've applied for 2 grants in the last 6 weeks for this idea of a distributed urban farming network for high schools. And these high schools that we're working with already have kick-ass, amazing indoor farms. And what we're going to try and do is use the Grow Computer platform to network them all together. And we think that this type of community, especially for kids, is going to be really exciting. And so this is actually going to be a 501c3 nonprofit. I know there are a couple educators on the phone. If you guys or anyone else is connected to any of these school programs or is interested in school hydroponics, we're going to be putting a lot more out on OneGrow and then sharing more information over the coming weeks and months with this community as well. And as we go back to those 3 pillars, that was really it. As we're looking at what we're trying to do and why we're doing it for you, for the people that are here, the ones that took the time to show up, that took the time to talk to me and talk to us over the last couple of years and work with us. We're working to build the infrastructure that's needed to get this going and to get this whole world where we believe it. And we want it to be accessible and easy to use for everybody. And that's materializing in what we're trying to do with this beta squad. And so, jumping into why everybody is here is to kick this crazy idea off, because frankly, we have no idea if it's going to work, but we're trying really hard and we think we have some really cool stuff planned. And so if we can get it going, it's going to be amazing. And so the main goal is to help build a community of growers around the world with different systems, but the same challenges. And how do we allow the folks here to work together, work with us to build this community that anyone can hopefully tap into and that we can grow over time. If we do it right, there's applications, there's recipe sharing, there's A/B testing opportunities, there's supply chain integrations that we can do if this platform does work. And so this is the first step to go to those communities. And we're hoping that you guys join us. And so what we are going to be doing is this afternoon, Colleen and I are going to be sending out Slack channel invitations. A company is built in Slack. Luckily, the response from most of the folks was pretty positive. So everyone has some comfort level with it. But what we're hoping to do is to bring growers into our company Slack channel and create a new community there. We like this because this is where we are. And we think that if this is going to be successful, it has to be easy for everybody. And it has to give you the value to come in and to talk to us and reach us when you need. We only have 2 rules. 1, be nice. And 2, confidentiality is going to be implied. We're going to come out with a lot of stuff around data sharing, but we don't want you guys blabbing about anybody else's grow. And so we're going to be sending out a short code of contact signature, and then you're going to get your invites this afternoon. And what we are planning for this forum, hopefully is pretty cool. And hopefully you guys are going to enjoy and going to want to engage with. First off, it's polls. We have a merch strategy that we love that I'm going to explain in a second, but we're going to be printing a new shirt because we haven't made anything new since 2018. And it's long overdue, especially as we get to this next level. Additionally, Monty has his own community that is a really cool idea called the Green Code Society. And we're hoping to be able to post green code challenges. And what that means is for all you engineers on the group, and of which I know there's a bunch, can we post a big challenge that we're looking to solve and work together on the solution? And I think this is a really exciting way for the engineers to kind of work with this community and build with other folks, because the product ultimately will benefit you guys. Additionally, working groups and calls for expertise. I have a lot of things I would love to ask you, and how do we communicate back and forth? And then one of the last things is friends and experts. Um, I've spoken to lots of people. You guys know this. I talk to you all. A lot of really incredible folks in this network. And how do we figure out ways to share knowledge and expertise in building these businesses and really building the change that we all want to see? And then anything else, like if you guys think of anything else, let us know. We are here to provide the value to you, and we're hoping that you appreciate it. And so what else can we do to listen to you, to work with you as a community, and to build the product that you're going to want to use for the next 10 years? As I mentioned, we have a really cool merch strategy. I've never put this together before, but we talk about it a lot on our calls. And basically, we love wearing high quality Grow Computer stuff. And Monty has called it a grower lifestyle brand. But we take pride in it, and we want anyone that has any of our merch already or our T-shirts knows that we try to make comfortable stuff. And so we're going to have a lot more coming on that. We have a T-shirt. We're working on a hat. But we want it to be stuff that you'll want to wear. And so we're going to work with you on that and try to figure out how to make cool shit that you'll want to buy, basically. Also, we're going to provide resources. And so, we're going to hopefully say, I have these two things that I do personally. One of them is AgTech Archive. It is a free resource of more information, news, studies, and articles than anyone can consume. I just put anything that I think is interesting in there, and I've started to curate it a bit. So if you're looking for more information on how to build your business, or what's going on in the world, or other cool things that people are doing, that might be a really good place to start. And then I also teach a class, as I mentioned, Startup Economics 101. And I'm going to be creating some grower-focused content that I'd love to work with on this community. Also, if you're in and you're building it, we're willing to offer you all a 20% lifetime discount. It's easy to say considering we don't know what the price is, but once the price is, we will be able to work. We're here to make sure that you guys are getting value, and we will appreciate the help that we're going to be getting. But it is based on participation. And so you all have really shown the interest and the insight and the excitement just by showing up here. And we're hoping that we can provide this value over the lifetime of your grow and your businesses. And then also, we can help you build your own business. I know a lot of folks have been innovating on lots of different ideas, but if you need software and you think that you have an opportunity to build value on top of a digital platform in your local community, in your local area, reach out to us and we can try and help you figure out something. And that's the game plan. That's what we're trying to do with this beta squad. And, it's really just going to be a place to connect and communicate and ask questions and listen, and hopefully show off really cool stuff. And really what matters to everybody here is, when are you going to get it, right? And so as we think about our rollout and we're looking at where we are, we have a couple small technical challenges that we're still getting through on some of our local computing. And as we figure that out, we are going to be rolling it out hopefully by this summer. But what's really important is that the platform works. It's just getting everybody to the platform. That bits to Adam's challenge, as we mentioned, has been the challenge so far. And so that's the game plan. I mean, that's what I wanted to introduce. I'm glad I stayed relatively in a decent amount of time. We're going to take questions at the end. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are and what everyone's interested in, and kind of what connected and spoke to you. But really what we're excited about today is the demo. And so with that, I'm going to kick it over to our head of software, Montique Willis, who is just going to walk us through a little bit more about what we're building, where we're at, and some of the really cool things that we're going to help you guys do over the next couple months. Exactly. So Monty, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you.
All right. So I'll jump right into this. I know a lot of you are going to have questions. So before Before we get started, there are a couple of things we want to get clear before we start to kind of share the screens, because there are going to be questions that are kind of going to be noodling around in there until you kind of understand how this works with the programmers in the room and some of the guys who do technical things. One, we have a Grow Hub. Dan mentioned earlier in the slides that there's a local device that sits in your grow room or your space in your local network, and that device essentially is collecting data from all of your smart sensors and your smart devices and allowing that to be sent up to our cloud database. And we can, from there, display all of this information to you wherever you are in the world. And what you're going to see is our rough demo. It may look kind of like this when you get it, and likely will not look a lot like this when you get it. So, but all the components will be the same. So you won't be missing features. You'll be having additional features in some places, and some other aspects will be rolling out new things that we will probably want some feedback on early. One of the other things we want to get from this, just so we know going in, please leave your feedback now, because we're in the stage at this point. As you'll see, that we're going to start to kind of go in different directions, and as any of you know who do software, this can go in many different directions as far as like what features we give you early. So what we want to hear back from you is what's missing. We know there's some glaring things missing. I'll mention those things in the deck. But we do want to know, for what we have, what do you want to see? What's not there? And also, if you love it, say you love it. We want to hear back on both sides, and say, yeah, that's awesome. You guys are going in the right direction. So the whole thing that Dan mentioned about being grower first was important to me when I was building this, and David is our cloud architect. I'm not sure if he's on the call, but David is responsible for a lot of the sausage making in the cloud that goes on, and a lot of that analysis. And he and I have been working very closely over the last few years to try to perfect how the data moves. So the infrastructure was very important to this happening. So a lot of the redirection and pivots were because we were starting to find out exactly how hard it was to do this and how complex it was to do this. But once we had a strategy, we went ahead and started to build. So I'll start sharing now so we can start to get through this. Dan, I think you need to pass me the ability to share.
Where's the share screen? Am I still sharing?
No, it says you've disabled it for attendees.
We're still new to Slack. Oh, we're still new to Zoom. There you go. Make you the host.
All right, I'm in. Okay.
All right, cool.
So let's see. Let's get this guy going. Let me know when you guys can see the screen. Okay, Zoom is yelling at me, so I'm not sure if you guys can hear me or not. Okay, good. Are you guys able to see the screen? You can nod, thumbs up, whatever you can see. Okay, good. So this dashboard, this is what I meant by change. So our dashboard is really a collection space for the things you want to see, the widgets you would like to see. Right now we have active grows, and we have integrations that we built in. One of the companies that we've integrated here and worked with, who've been really good partners for us in the beginning, is Sensor Push. For those of you who have Sensor Push or any kind of device like that, it basically collects temperature and humidity, and they're coming out with some new devices soon, and we're going to be on those the moment they come out. And we also work with NetAtmo, they have a really robust developer community. And we're tracking temperature, humidity, CO2, and pressure. And what I'm doing is I'm showing the sensors that we found were most important to this specific grower. In this case, it's Dan's. So we're looking at Dan's grow right now. And so Dan's grow is he's growing peppers. So he's been growing different things. Like he did a cannabis grow early, and now we moved on. And I'll get to you. I'll let you see kind of how our system indicates past grows and our current grows. So to jump into his active
Monty,
grow, yes.
you're a little blurry right now. Not sure we're having some trouble seeing on the connection.
Okay.
Maybe mute your video for a minute.
Sure.
Maybe start back from the.
Okay. Is that better? I'm not sure if it's better or not.
Not really. No, so everybody, yeah, we're having a little bit of a resolution issue at the moment. I am not sure where. Of course, Slack starts to go bad now. I'm going to mute my video as well. Hopefully, we can pick it up. If anyone has any other ideas of how we can enable HD in video settings, Monty, it's probably on your side.
One second. I'm enabled. I'm good on my side. So I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if that's my computer or not. Maybe the internet connection, but let me see. If this doesn't work, then you can try sharing from your screen. I can just
I could click through it.
Yeah.
You want me to open Monty? You want me to open it?
Oh, 1 second. I'm gonna try one more time to share from my screen.
Sorry, everybody. We've been using Google Meets for the most part, and we've started to have more issues with Google Meets. So now, as we move over to Slack, obviously, new set of technical issues. There we go. It's a little bit better. Maybe zoom in also.
Okay. I can't zoom in too much for that.
Okay.
Okay. Is that better? Okay. Okay. So this.
It is better though.
Okay. Let me know if you want to continue this way. We can.
I mean, maybe talk through it, and what we could do is we're going to publish this video. So maybe what we could do is we could record a local version with a higher resolution and send it out. But yeah, it's. Monty, you want me to try to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Just make me the host again. All right. How's this? Better?
I can see it on my end. I'm not sure about everybody else.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. So Monty, tell me where to go.
Okay, so let me just briefly go through this again. The top area is the active grows and batches, and this is where your batch grows are going to go. Just a quick link into that batch. And below that, we have sensor push integrations where you can see the sensors that are connected to the grow. And below that, we have NetAtmo, which are both integrations from sensor companies. So you can click into the grow. So this is his active grow, and then again, you can see his humidity, temperature, and CO2 and pressure in the room, along with his plants in the photo view. We're bringing all that up through the photo. There's a purple line there, and the purple line is from the photo sensor. It looks like it may be going bad, but the camera footage is coming directly from the grow into Grow Computer's platform, and so we can display multiple cameras. We can actually stack them, do multi views. We can do different things in this area, and that'll be coming as a feature update I personally have 3 cameras in my grow, so I'll probably have more than just the one image. So lower canopy, upper canopy, you can do different things just to have some visibility, depending on how your grow is set up. Below that, we have his additional sensors in that space, and he has, I think, one at the plant site, just recording temperature and humidity. And below that, he has some energy reading. These are just the outlets and relays that are connected to his grow, and they're just reporting how much wattage is active. And this is a really quick way to see if your lights are on, if things are actually functioning, and it's also just recording in the background. I'll get back into energy in a second. Dan, you can go to the analysis tab. In the analysis tab, this is his recorded data over time, recording hours, days, months. And as you scroll down, you can see a little more of the data listed in line views. I'd like some feedback about how you guys want to see this. This is another thing that we can change. If you want to see bar charts, if you want to see different types of charts here, we can show those in different ways. I may actually enable that so that you can see multiple views of the same data. But as you scroll down, you can see all the sensor data in one place. So you can actually kind of see how temperature is affecting the humidity, or you can see how the CO2 is affecting the room as well over time. So this is kind of like where you jump into that. What's hidden, before we move on to the next tab, in this view, we have 2 other tabs that are hidden right now. And the reason why is because we wanted to focus specifically on monitoring. There's scheduling for automation, timers, interval and daily timers, weekly, whatever you wanted to do. You could do all types of timers in that section. And then also a control tab, which basically lets you go in and do manual. Dan, can you click on the Grow Hub at the top and click on See All Devices? At the very top, we have an indicator of the status of the device in the room. So you can see when it's online. If for whatever reason that device goes offline, you'll see a red indicator that pops up, which has been the bane of us in development. We can see that every time it goes offline, we would see that device go offline, and we would be able to go ahead and check it on development. But for you guys, it would be an indication of power outage or Wi-Fi outage on site. And before we even get to that point, the Wi-Fi and internet, the internet does not stop your grow from working. So you still will be able to grow in your grow room regardless of the internet connection. So those of us who live in areas, I'm in Texas right now, we get rolling thunderstorms, power outage, I have a UPS on site, my device stays online, and that means that the devices still have connection on the local network. So we can talk more about that in the tech chat. I won't go too far into that for people who are not tech and geek nerds on this call, but there's lots of ways to configure this system so that it doesn't go offline locally, which is the important part, because you don't want your babies to go down. So this screen is actually showing you locally what's connected. Dan has 6 outlets connected, and those power buttons there, he could actually turn on and off the power of those devices from this screen remotely. So he can go in and say, I want to turn off the lights remotely for whatever reason, the timer didn't work, or something was going on locally and I forgot to turn off the lights in my space. He can click here and turn off those lights manually and get back into it. At the bottom, he has his cameras, which basically are showing all the cameras that have been registered to his system and are connected. And those cameras are going to be available to any of the zones he has connected. So we'll get to the zones in a second to kind of decide where those things are going to grow. So let's go back to Grow Manager. If you click into Grow Batches, this is kind of where we're going now. So this is how we can kind of see what's happening from a holistic standpoint when you're growing. What have I been growing? When did I harvest it? When did that grow end? As you can see at the top, he has a timeline view, which shows his Admiral Kush grow, which was a cannabis grow he did early in the year, at the end of last year into the early of this year. And when he harvested that grow, it stopped the timeline. So you could see exactly when that grow batch actually finished. And the next one is going to hit the peppers grow he's in right now has picked up, and you can see that it's basically gone off screen, which means it's still current. This is another area that's going to have a lot of feature updates, having segmented subtasks or sub timelines showing exactly when your grow phase has changed. When you planted, when you are going into flower, when you're going to harvest, all those different segments are going to be color-coded underneath the same timeline. So you can see exactly what phases the plants were in, or what processes were going on during the actual timeline of the grow. And so we'll get more into that, those types of feature sets later on in this year. But that feature set is going to grow. from over time. The other thing we want to see is like, hey, when you're predicting it to harvest, to say maybe we want to say I want to be able to harvest this in August. I want the first week of August to be my harvest date. You can set a future date, a pending future date, and this timeline will shift, and you will see in a faint color the future date or targeted date for that harvest, and that'll kind of help you predict when you're going to be able to harvest your plants and get them to the market or get them into your supply chain. And below that, there's more of a linear view of that, basically showing you, when you actually planted or when that grow actually started. And below that are archived grows, the grows that have already ended. And so you can see the date that it was completed. All of these are going to add more and more features. This is going to be more feature rich in the future, but it's just more of a holistic way of seeing your grow processes. Let's get into the energy manager. Energy manager is a fun one for us because this is this has taught me a lot about energy and how energy works. But we are tracking on an outlet by outlet basis, and in bigger grows, it's going to be on a relay basis. There are some things that we're going to add. So at the top, let's just stay at the top for a second. This is just kilowatts used. This is used energy. This is what we usually see on our energy bill, but it's also broken down by day and by hour, so you can see exactly how much energy is being used. And if something's out of whack or if it's not enough energy, you'll see that pretty early. And so you can see what's going on. And this is just a way to just kind of tailor your energy and eventually get to the point where you can predict how much energy you're going to use over time. Or you can see kind of how much energy is costing you. And so you can say, okay, maybe I need to offset my grow times so I can get a better rate from the energy company, as Dan mentioned earlier. Or I need to be able to report to the energy company, hey, these times I grow, I want to be able to get a better rate. Can we work out a deal for this time? And this is kind of just showing you what the grow is doing. So if it's connected to our grid or if it's connected to our system, we'll be able to track that energy. There are specific outlets, and we'll get into this more when we get into smart devices, but there are specific outlets that do track energy and some that don't. But there's a ton of smart providers out there that let you attach different devices to your energy grid to allow us to track it on the back end. And we'll track everything from on the grid energy and also solar energy. Eventually, we're going to get into doing inverters and charge controllers to be able to track all that energy coming in. At the bottom, this is more of a breakout. This is kind of by device how much energy is. You can go back up, Dan, to the breakout chart. This is how much energy is basically being used by each device on your network. So you can say, oh, my lights are using X amount of energy. You could actually click on light on the left side, and it'll, if you don't want to see light on the right side, Dan.
Right here?
No, yeah, there. If you click on light, click on it one more time for me.
All right, noted bug.
No, it's not a bug. Click on left side, click on light. On the right, in the actual legend. Yeah.
Oh, over here?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank you. So
you guys that where?
that allows you to basically eliminate certain things that are taking up most of the view in your chart. You can kind of see what the remainder is, and this kind of helps me to see how much certain devices are using, and I can kind of zoom in on that specific device. On the right side is by category. So we also track what kind of devices you're connecting to our system, and I'll show you the screen that does that soon. But basically, every time you create a new smart device, you can actually say that this is a smart energy device, or this is a smart plug, or this is a light bulb, or this is a air pump, or whatever. And over time, what you can do is actually see which air pumps are more efficient for you energy-wise. Or you can see which lights are more efficient energy-wise. So you can have all types of breakouts based on category, and kind of see more details. And this is going to grow as well. We'll get more into linear views of this, so you can kind of see the differences between maybe the manufacturers and what kind of cost they're saying. That if they're saying it's 45 watts, let's see if it's actually 45 watts, and let's compare that against another company. You can get into those types of details. At the bottom is more of the real-time stuff, and this is tracking in his room right now and reporting that. So the updated wattages that you're seeing every couple seconds is basically refreshing, showing you the new voltage and amperage and wattage coming from his outlets, and we can show you that on anything that's connected to a specific relay that tracks energy or outlet. Okay, so let's move on to a big one, which is zones. Yes. So zones is the demo that I have for zones. Dan's grow is a horizontal grow, what we call a flat grow. It's not a vertical grow. So when we click into his big tent, you can click on the big tent. We're seeing basically a flat view of his growth. And this is something I would love to get some feedback on, especially from those of you who do designs for hydroponic spaces. Anybody who's had to configure rooms to try to get the most value out of a room as far as space is concerned, I'd like to hear your feedback. So we have the concept of a horizontal grow and a vertical grow. So then if you click on his horizontal grow, you'll see kind of how this renders out. And this is basically the plot of his tent. He has a 2x2 4 plant grow. Each plant in that plot, what we're calling the plot, is essentially tracked with the QR code with the location. And so we're getting into now the more of the location management within a grow. This is all tied to the environmental data. This is tied to the grow batches. So you're able to see it on plant by plant basis how the energy and how environmental factors affect that grow, and you're also able to track it from the beginning. So once you plant it, it gets a QR code the moment it's added to our system. And we can follow it through the grow. We can move to different zones. We can add new plots. So right now he had two zones, the big tent and the small tent. So his small tent and big tent.
It's taken down, but yeah.
Yeah, his small tent doesn't have anything in it right now, so it's just empty.
Well, I can create one.
That's fine. All right. That's fine. But the idea is to track each zone, each area that you're growing in separately, and then you can configure exactly how that layout is. So these are the plots being added. And it lets you design the grid of each plot. So if you have a 10 by 10, if you have a 20 by 20, if you have a 5 by 5, whatever it is, it lets you grow that. So the other thing you can do is you go back to the main screen.
And then it's cool because we could add new plants by what you've already planted, and add a stage. And so we can track these things live. And as this will look is these will stack. So if you have a tower, for example, and you have multiple racks, they will be vertical in one tower in this layout as well. Because we're trying to best match this digital map to what your custom solution is going to look like. So we know where all of your plant locations are, and we can deliver you that data that you're going to want on each of them.
And on this screen, we have just some oversights, like how many active crops you have, how many crop sites you have. Dan just added a bunch, so he has 77 crop sites now. And the empty crop sites show just what's open. And this is important if you just want to see how efficient you are at planting, how many spaces are being actively used, and how many are empty. And so if you have empty places on your grid or on your plot, then it's going to show you what that is. And then let's go into zone assignments. And so this may be a question that you're thinking about. It's just how do we assign sensors to zones? And this is essentially where we do this. So each one of his tents right now, which are different zones. Zones can be anything. They can be floors, they can be racks, they can be anything. So right now he has tents, and these tents have certain devices, and these devices are all assigned in this screen. So you can pick whatever devices, cameras, temperature sensors, anything can be added to a zone in any place on the system. So it's very flat in the way that you can see it, but it's also very informative as to which devices are where. So you can kind of understand, eventually you'll see what I mean when you start to get into smart devices. They all look the same. they don't have much of you can't tell which one is which. So if you have a system that's configured to have multiple floors, you don't even know which floor it's on. So this is going to kind of help you to tie into that type of thing. And I'll show you some more how you can get more into that detail. So let's click on Crop Manager really quickly before we move on to the technical stuff. This is just showing you what you have what you've been growing, which plants you've been growing. And so the basil, the chilies, all that stuff, this is what Dan's actually growing right now. And so at the top, I'm actually counting how many of those plants exist in his current batch. So if you had, for example, 61 basil plants or strawberries or whatever, it'll show you the breakout of those plants and how many you're growing in your system. So this is just giving you a count of what you have growing and how much you have. And so you can kind of start to get into that. And this is going to grow also. We're going to get into categories, what kind of plant categories you have, herbs versus some other plants. Or you can say, hey, I want to know how many basil plants I have, and I want to be able to take that to market, and I want to say I brought this much basil plants, and it would weigh X amount of weight. So you can have some weight metrics along with plant metrics. And so this is going to get more detailed as well. We also have some integrations coming that'll give you plant family information for those of you who do research. So if you want to track the families or genus information or species information, you can get all into that in the plant area. In the assignments area, everything at this point, from this point on, is going to be more setup. So this is all kind of how you name your sensors, how you name your outlets, how you assign them values, how you give them a type and a category. So it's very basic stuff, but you pretty much are only going to probably do this once. Or if you go in and have to change something, if you want to change the assignment of a plant or assignment of a zone or outlet, you can do that in this area. And settings at the bottom, this is more what Dan has attached to his system. This is going to be more, again, of like registrations, serial numbers. If you need to check on a certain device, or if a device is faulty in the field, you can find out where that is here. And then at the bottom, we have integrations. These are integrations directly from NetAtmo and Sensor Push. You can see data attached to specific manufacturers, and we're going to grow this as well. This is going to be a lot of companies going to be here. So we have a lot of companies that are going to work with essentially all of our stuff. Logs is not going to have much because we don't have much there, but view, the view mode. If you go to, say, your main view, we have a light view and a dark view. We are developers, so we hate light view. We like dark view a lot. So light view just switches the themes out. We may add some more colors, and it's just a way to just see things differently. If you don't want to see a dark screen, or if you do want to see a dark screen, dark mode is available to you, and we swap all that stuff out for you. Okay, I think that is it for now. There are other features. There are other things that we have coming, like water chemistry, that are coming. That's the obvious missing one. We have feeding schedules. There's a lot of things that are going to come around those tasks and goals. I want to plant. I want to be able to track the tasks in my growth system to say, hey, week one, I planted this seed. I also changed the fertilizer, or I used light fertilizer in the first week. Next week, I want to be able to say I had more fertilizer, or I changed over nutrients, or whatever. You can do anything you want in the task management, and that's going to come into some of that plant manager screen or crop manager screen. So there's some very noticeable things that I think are missing. But beyond that, as far as a monitoring system, this is where we are, and this is what we've been building.
Awesome. Thanks, Monty. Yeah, I mean, so that's where our story so far, and that's why we brought everybody here today. I mean, I think that anybody that's spoken to us over the years, I know some of you have probably seen our first platform with our growth strips, right? These guys in 2016, which some people still bought. We've worked out with them, but we've come a long way, and we've listened, and we tried to build this company outside in. And so we're trying to really listen to what you guys have asked and what you're looking for and what people that are approaching this have wanted. And so we listened, and we haven't seen anything else like this so far. There's things that could do similar solutions, but I think in the way that we're approaching it, in this grower first open way, we have a lot of really, really cool stuff together. And so, with that, we spoke for an hour. I know I booked an hour and a half. I'd love to listen to any questions. I mean, I could unmute everybody. I'll give everybody should be able to unmute yourselves if you have any questions. But I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think, and hear if you have any questions or what you want us to work on, or any other parting thoughts.
Sure, Dan, I have something if you take a question from me.
Yeah, what's up, Jake?
I thought it was great. I think this is definitely a much needed project or product for us. So I guess my question is, I'm sorry if I missed this, but it looks like everything is a Bluetooth or wired connection. Are you guys working with anything with APIs or being able to control kind of web-based devices?
Actually, everything that we have is Wi-Fi. It's not wired at all. It seems wired because it's going through our Grow Hub, but the Grow Hub is actually communicating with Wi-Fi.
Okay, so would you be able to use, like, I know that some of the LED companies I'm working with have APIs online. Would that be compatible with your product?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we want. We want,
Okay.
we've been reaching out to several companies, some we won't name yet, but there's definitely a lot of companies that want APIs, and we're building with them. It's not just, they're having developed APIs. Sometimes we're going to have to go in and develop them for them. But we're definitely doing that. So if you have any information regarding that, or if you want to jump in and help us do that type of thing, absolutely, bro.
And Jake, also another
Cool.
note on that is that there's multiple spectrums that people are using. I know a lot of folks use companies that have XB and Z-Wave and Zigbee connections. We've thought about that from the beginning. Right now, we're doing Bluetooth and Wi-Fi because that's the most. But because we do local first computing, it's going to be fairly easy for us to add in new antennas so that we can connect with these devices. And so, for example, if something's on XP, I know a popular water chemistry controller, who I don't want to mention just yet, uses an XP dongle. The way that we're approaching it is if we're looking at ways to add in those types of antennas such that we can connect directly to those devices and integrate them in, regardless of how what their spectrum is.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Jake.
Okay. I got a question
Yeah.
about the API, and because I'm doing very big growth completely with Arduino projects, and
Which
like
project? I'm sorry.
I'm having a big grow with Arduino projects.
Okay.
And I'd like to have a good software that works with it. So how far is the documentation of your API so I can send serial data or something like that to Arduino devices?
So we are going to open up our API, probably not until late this year or next year. The reason why we're not going to open up our side of the API is because there's some things that we're going to have to take consideration for, like there are other applications that we want to add to our system, and also we need to work on some of the privacy and security on our system before we do that. So we want to make sure we have all those boxes checked for everybody before we open it up. But it is coming. It is something we know we want to do. And I know for sure that if you have sensor data, if you have something that you just want to integrate, if you just have something you're working on, just let us know. Like, put it in the chat, hit me up. We'll talk about it. We'll figure out how to get it in. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's an API or something that you'd like to latch onto, I probably can get it in for you. But it just let me know how detailed you need it to be, and we can talk through it.
Okay, that sounds great. Because I think the big benefit of Arduino is that you have very, very, very cheap components.
Yes.
Like I can get a temperature sensor for 20 cents.
Yeah.
And I can make it work with the chip for €2 or $2.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think there's it's really awesome that you make a product and you want to make it for everyone and for also for others. I think it's awesome. Really, like what I've seen today is pretty awesome. But I'd like to have it the other way also, and so. But I'll give you something in Slack.
Yeah, send me an email. I have my email listed as well. You can send me an email. We'll talk through it. I think that what you're talking about is doing a custom integration, and we can totally do that. That's not a problem. It's just a matter of figuring out when we can actually open up a public API, but privately we can definitely figure out something for you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Mark.
Guys, I got a quick question about integration with agritech. I'm currently running 2 freight farms and want to get rid of farm hands. So I know that you guys, I'd heard you guys were talking about that, but I'd love to do it.
We've already talked to Agrotech and about their system. They've sent over documentation, so it's just we're building it. It's happening already. But yeah, we already have that aim to replace that system, and we've heard that from a current customer that we have that wants the exact same thing. But we have the documentation in house, and it's just us building that API at this point.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure I can I'm sure you'll have about 300 customers very quickly.
We've heard, yeah.
That's always exciting to hear.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely on radar. It's we have gone. I've gone through a lot of their code. The code is there. Some of these manufacturers and anybody who has integration questions, most of these manufacturers have libraries. They don't have APIs. So what we're doing is going in and talking to them and negotiating how to do APIs for them. That's another benefit, added benefit that Grow Computer has. Because we're doing integrations all the time, we've seen a lot of this data before. And then we can kind of come in and say, hey, we've done the same type of thing. Can you let us do that with your manufacturer? And they send over their data, and we try to look at their libraries and figure out the best way to implement it into the platform. But AgroTech will be a big one. We know that's going to be a big one. They have several devices that we want to integrate.
That's great. The only other question I had was, what's the, I guess the app side of this and the integration as far as for, I guess, as a grower, like how will I be inputting data? Just an example.
You won't. No, I mean, I don't mean that in the way from a sensor standpoint. You won't enter sensor data. What you would be doing is
yields and weight,
yes.
like actual product
yes.
data and that end of it, and just how that integration will be happening. Is that going to be tried to be tied back to a combination
yes.
of QR codes and just
short answer yes. The weight and yield is in the crop manager. That's something that I already have built for that. The weight is not something that we want to have you input. We want the weight to be a smart device that you can set your yield on, give us weight metrics, and it automatically load into the system. The idea is to reduce the amount of typing you do, right? So when I say you shouldn't have to input data, the idea is that you shouldn't have to, actually manually type in numbers. As a fallback, we'll have that type of feature, but the smart skills that we're seeing that are coming onto the market right now, we think that we can actually give you a device that does it for you. You just drop your plants on it, and it automatically records it with the QR code.
Yeah. Gotcha. There was rumor that with one of the latest farmhand things, and there was a scale, and I don't think anyone, I literally think no one bought into it, and it didn't work. I haven't heard of one person actually doing it. So I was curious to find out how that integration really happened.
It's got to work together, and I think if you're just doing it in a vacuum and it doesn't work seamlessly with everything else, it just causes a lot more work for everybody. And so one of our customers is actually working on this exact challenge about how do we use QR codes and cameras at a weighing station, such that the QR code can be scanned into the system, and we know that when you put the clippings on that smart scale that you get a yield from that weight. And so there's some things that we're working on with that. And so Phil, we'd love to talk more about how you would want to use it and how you would want to see that information. This is exactly one of those use cases where we're excited to be able to listen to you and how you're going to want it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, no, for sure. The other interesting one that's come up a few times lately with me is also possible, like, personnel tracking. And I don't know what type of sensor, what type of sensor that might be, but as far as like actually tracking who is doing all these things.
Yes.
As well too, because that's becoming more and more of a thing where everyone wants to know every single person and see their smiling face of who actually touched their food.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. And I actually have, we have the same ask from our client, which is user management, enrollments, roles, things like that. In our system, who can change what in your system, who actually weighed something. If someone weighed something at a weigh station, you want to know who did it. All that audit tracking is going to come in our next phase, which is a heavy user management aspect or identity management aspect, which just says, hey, I have a master farmer or even the idea of householding, like I have multiple farms, multi-site farms. All that is kind of coming from the same type of logic, who is in control of what and what can I see, right? And then historically, the QR code will track whoever touched anything because that is your trail, that's your data trail or your timeline for that crop. So if someone moved it from zone 1 to zone 2, you want to know exactly who moved that and when it was moved, or if it was moved at all, right? If you want to track actually if the work was done. So all that stuff is coming in the same module, a user management module.
Thanks, Phil.
Hey everyone, I have a question.
Yeah.
For possible integrations with other pieces of software, if the database platform Airtable could also be part of this equation, that would be great. I've developed a farm management platform using Airtable as sort of the backbone, and then just a simple web page through Google Sites as sort of the front end dashboard that all of the farm managers on these separate farms are using to enter in their data. So just a quick note about Airtable, that would be great. And so you mentioned like task planning and what you were just talking about with tracking individual farm hands, essentially. Are there other, is there a desire for other like higher level farm management functionality, like when to perform critical tasks, when to buy seeds or check nutrients or something like that, some type of inventory management?
And so David, this is like a really actually important point. And so I think this is what's really kind of cool about how we're trying to do this.
Froze.
I froze? Oh, bummer. Am I still frozen? No. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You're better now. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I turned off the video. So David, your point is super important because as we've seen, like everybody here is doing their own thing. And so you add a lot of value on the process. And so for those that don't know, David was the first person that taught me how to farm at Farm One. He was a farm manager there for years and now has gone on a long career. And so you have that expertise on how to manage these systems, right? You understand what that takes. That we are hoping that though that value add component is essentially like an application. And so we're going to do some of this and we're going to start to tie in to get together some of these basic functions. But if you have a way that you think your farm could operate as value add on top of that 80% tech platform, we think that that's where we'd like to go. And so when we look at the composition of our team, we're really smart data people, we're growers, and we understand the different areas, but the how these things should operate. We see actually interesting opportunities in software partnerships. And so once again, if everybody's on this same operating system, now an application that's designed in one part, like, so if you have your application of how to manage this task and we can work on integrating it into our platform, could that software now be distributed to any other farm that's on our platform already? And now your operations manager could work. And the idea is, yes. And that's how we're thinking about it for right now. I mean, we're going to do all of the tasks, but I think how you apply them, that's where a lot of the skill set and the expertise lies on everybody else's side. We look at, that's the road, why we're roads and bridges and not necessarily building the cars.
Cool. Yeah, I think there is a lot of opportunity with the data analysis components, particularly with yield projections. And I think those are like the data sets that I collect now, they're intelligent in a sense in that as we continue to log more harvests, the average yield per plant becomes more refined. And so our predictive measures become more accurate over time. I think this would be a great way to do the same thing. There's a huge data stream pouring in, and basically, I use this phrase a lot, put the machines to work, let the analytics software tell us what is, for instance, the necessary time frame between cleaning reservoirs. The farms that I manage right now are hydroponic farms, and we cycle out the nutrient water every couple of weeks.
Yep.
And we've arrived at a number, an interval, a cleaning interval, based on the historical data that we've seen, more or less anecdotally, because it's very hard to pull this information out of that big cloud of data. So perhaps it's, you know, the effect on yield is not statistically significant going from week 4 to week 5, and so we could stretch our cleanings an extra week. Maybe it is. I don't know. Another thing that's kind of related to that is the style of harvesting. There are some crops that grow very slowly and then they have a growth spurt. And so it's not necessarily efficient to harvest before they've had that growth spurt, and then their usable window is a defined interval, and then there's a point of diminishing returns, at which time you should total harvest the crop and cycle it out for something else. So it would be great to see more of those data analytics tools get built out over time, so we could turn this data into actionable information.
Yeah. I mean, that's next level stuff. And that's, what we'll say right now is that while the tools aren't there, the model of which we're collecting and storing that information by plant site is there, and it is built and it is working. So now the question is, how do we tie your kind of data set to what we're able to see live and start to see if we can use that AI, big data, machine learning, whatever fancy words you want to say, to help do more predictive tasks. And then, the other thing that we hear a lot of is working backwards from a sale date. And I'm sure anyone else that's doing production farms will agree to this, is saying, if you're selling a contract for 50 pounds of kale on September 15th, how do you work backwards and make sure that you're allocating the right amount of your farm, planting it at the right time, and doing these things such that you can get to that point. And then if we can work backwards from there, now the farmer can almost sell future contracts and be much more efficient in their production. And so those two things are obviously tied very closely together. And so it's just, as we work on figuring out how to add the intelligence layer to the infrastructure, that's where some of the really cool stuff is going to be.
Yeah. And to Dan's point, we do have the model in place to do exactly what you're saying. The question is going to be, how smart it is. The data will be there. It's not necessarily intelligent yet. So what we need to do is try to sit down maybe with you, David, and start to map out exactly what it is that you're looking for, along with what we know we're already planning to do. And that's what we can build out. The growth management aspect of our system is the newest part. We've been doing a lot of sensor collection, data collection from sensors historically, and now it's just the big ask, right? I need to see what's going on, and now we're saying, okay, well, now we need to manage what's going on. So that's the next phase of our project. And the user management portal is going to have a lot of stuff related to farmhands, and it will consequently have a lot of effects on dates, right? Like when things happen within the system, because of the fact that you're going to be able to give out assignments and things like that. So I have a lot of opinions about that. I know you do as well. So we can sit down and talk about that.
Yeah. And then Riley, I see your question in the chat about task confirmation. I think that's something we'd love to hear about, how you're going to want to see it. We don't necessarily have it built, but the model is there to easily accept it. And so do we want to do automated task approval, right? So do we know something was harvested based on whether or not it was placed in the smart scale and the QR code was there? Or are we looking for a manual task? And I think that's something we're just going to evolve with and listen to how you're going to want to see it, because your question is absolutely appropriate. But thank you, David. Thank you, Riley. What else we got? All right, awesome. I guess that means we did a pretty good job. But as we said, we're going to be here. You guys are going to be able to reach out to us. We're listening. We want to talk. We're going to send out some more of that information this afternoon for the Slack stuff. As I mentioned, we're going to ask you to sign a kind of a code of conduct first. And then we're going to welcome you into the Slack channel. We're going to try and set up some stuff such that over the next week and two, we're going to be doing one-off events. For example, I want to do something on pricing and our pitch deck review. Monty's going to want to talk a little bit more about embedded software. And so everybody here has these skill sets, and we just want to listen. And so thank you for listening to us today. We put this thing together. We were excited to show off. It's kind of hopefully the next step of us as a company as we start to really have these conversations and launch. But we've heard amazing feedback from all of you today and in the past, and we'd love to keep it going. And so thank you for the time. Thank you for the attention. I know that's always hard. And thank you for growing, and we're hoping to help. Thanks, Bill. I see that note. But if you guys have anything else, we're happy to stay on for another minute or two. Otherwise, please keep an eye out for the invitations. We're going to use the information that you sent out, and we're going to hopefully get you on board in the Slack channel in the next couple days. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Looks great. Can't wait.
See you guys later. Cool.